Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and I finally got the Adidas Harden Volume 8 in, so shout out to my boy Jun for the lookout. But yeah, I did get these on JD Sports, so they did have it on JD Sports and also Finish Line for a little bit, but it's not on there anymore. So I feel like they put it up there on accident. Maybe they weren't supposed to have it up there because it's not there anymore. So it does retail for $160, which is pretty dang expensive. It's the exact same price as the Adidas Harden Volume 7, which was also an amazing performer. So if you guys do want to cop, I'll try to leave in the affiliate link in the description box if it is still available. We've known what the shoe is going to look like for a year, and Harden's been playing in it for the entire season pretty much. So it finally came out, and I'm super duper excited about these. They do feel pretty dang nice so far, but let's get it started right off with the Tracciones, and the traction is pretty interesting in this colorway. So we have some herringbone going around the perimeter of the outsole pretty much, right? So here in the heel, the midfoot, and also in the forefoot, we have some circles as well, right? So we have a circle here on, it's not like where the ball of your foot is, which is kind of weird. It's more on the lateral side, and this kind of rubber piece kind of comes up into the midsole here on the lateral side as well. And then we have another piece. I guess that's more where your big toe is though, which is a good thing because that's where you put a lot of force, right? And then here in the middle of the outsole, we have this kind of like lightning bolt pattern, kind of, right? But yeah, as far as the stop goes on my wood floors, just trying it on my wood floors, it feels pretty dang nice, and it feels very similar to the Harden Volume 7, and which was also very nice, right? This was a top tier performer, top tier traction, and we have two pods in the forefoot, just like the Harden Volume 8, right? And also we have the 3 stripes logo, right? So here in the 7, there was a little bit of a cutout exposing the boost, of course, but here in the Harden Volume 8, it's just straight up rubber, but that's also something that is pretty similar as well. But yeah, I'm liking the Harden Volume 8 traction so far. Just trying it on my wood floors, there seems to be a very nice bite. It's not super squeaky, but there is a little bit of a squeak, and it seems very similar to the Harden Volume 7 as well. It just kind of sucks because the AE1 was so dang good. I don't know what they did with the rubber compound, or maybe it was because of the outsole pattern. But honestly, from my experience, I feel like the rubber compound is more important, right? But anyways, it still feels nice. We'll have to see on performance on dust, of course. And also for durability, it feels like it'll be okay, right? So as far as the rubber hardness goes, so we have 3 different types of patterns, right? So where the circle is, the rubber is actually quite thin and it is pretty pliable, so it's easily moved with my fingers, so it doesn't seem super durable here in these red parts. But then where the middle of the outsole is, and also kind of like where the herringbone is, it is a little bit harder, so the durability seems pretty good. But like here in the forefoot, especially where the highway area is, it doesn't seem super durable, but I still feel like it'll hold up pretty well on its own on outdoor court. Probably just not the best option. So the traction is feeling really good so far, and hopefully it performs just like the Harden Volume 7. But of course, the Harden Volume 7, it did pick up a little bit of dust for me, right? So there's that. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, it feels pretty dang smooth so far. So here in the heel, look at this. We have a great look. This is basically like a circle, you know what I mean? So we have a very curved shape here. Not a whole lot of heel compression. You know, it is pretty stiff as far as the actual foam goes here in the heel, but it does feel pretty nice and smooth in the heel. Then going into the forefoot, we have a nice curved shape, but it is pretty stiff, right? So it does bend a little bit like at the tip of the toe, just a tiny bit, as you guys can see, but I'm also putting a lot of force into that, and it doesn't really want to bend anywhere else. Like even here in the forefoot and also in the midfoot, it doesn't bend at all. So of course torsion support seems like it'll be very good, but hopefully because of that stiffer type of sole, it'll be a little bit springier, right? But even here, it doesn't really bend that much, right? In the Harden Volume 7, this bends a good amount, right? So that does feel a little bit different, but it still does feel very smooth because of the overall shape. So there's a heel to toe transition. Moving on to the cushioning setup. So as far as the cushioning setup goes, it's weird because Adidas is a little, even on their website for the AE1, it is inconsistent, right? So for the AE1, like the orange colorway, it says there's light strike and then jet boost, or just boost. And then for the Arctic blue color, it just says boost. So I don't know what's going on with their tech specs. But even for the Harden Volume 8, right, it says Jet Boost and Light Strike, but then I don't really see any Light Strike in this shoe, right? So obviously we have this entire foam. This is probably just EVA, right? It has this like pretty interesting texture to it. It does feel pretty nice. Has a little bit of a sandy texture to it. But yeah, obviously it's just going all up here into the upper. And also obviously it's the midsole too, right? On the lateral and also on the medial side. And one way you can tell the medial side from the lateral side is this part right here, this piece. So anyways, so we have, like I mentioned, we don't have that much compression here in the actual midsole and also here in the forefoot. You know, it's just more like stiff, but I think it is a little bit better than the pretty stiff plastic caging that we got here in the Harden Volume 7. So it is a little bit better, but the EVA is still pretty stiff. So not a lot of compression from the actual midsole. But of course, the one thing that is super duper nice about the Harden Volume 7, the AE1, also in the Harden Volume 8 is the step-in comfort, right? So whatever foam they're using, I'm not 100% sure. I'm sorry about that. Also on JD Sports, I believe it said Light Strike and Boost. But like I said, I don't really see any Light Strike. So if you look at the bottom of the shoe, there is a cutout, right? A very large cutout here in the heel, right? And that's obviously exposing the Jet Boost. The capsules are a little bit smaller, so it's supposed to be a little bit bouncier than regular Boost. But also here in the forefoot, we can see two whole cutouts. I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah, it exposes some type of midsole, and it looks like Boost to me, honestly. So here in the heel and also here in the forefoot, it's Boost. So where is the Light Strike, right? And also, as far as the insole goes, it's using just a regular paper stock insole, not very nice, very, very thin, typical of Adidas for their insoles, right? But underneath that, we have a very nice large cutout, just like in the Harden Volume 7, and also just like in the AE1, right? So in the heel, we have that cutout, which exposes the Boost. It's very, very soft when you press the exposed part, but also around that, where the strobo board is, it's actually really soft as well. It's not super stiff. It doesn't have that crazy stiff glued down feel to it. So in the entire heel, also going into the midfoot and also in the forefoot, that step-in comfort is actually really, really nice, right? So like I said, also like when I was looking at it, the strobe board also looks like it's using Boost. You know what I mean? You can see the cutout, and also where the strobe board is, there's kind of like that Boost texture, you know what I mean? So it doesn't look like this shoe is using Light Strike. But anyways, foam and also how it's implemented, like cushioning setups and stuff like that, the tech isn't as important in my personal opinion, because foams can be implemented very differently in a lot of different shoes, right? So for example, Phylon, right? Phylon can be very soft, right? Or it could be actually very, very stiff, like in the Kyries. They can use a carrier, they could use a cord. Just how they implement it and stuff like that is different, even though they are using the same type of foam. So anyways, how it feels is really, really nice. It feels a little bit softer than the Harden Volume 7, but it does feel pretty similar, and it feels extremely similar to the AE1s. I was walking around in it. The only difference is that the Harden Volume 8 feels a little bit higher up off the ground, if I'm going to nitpick, right? It still has really good court feel for the Harden Volume 8. It's just a little bit higher up off the ground than the Harden Volume 7 and also the AE1, which of course is not a bad thing, because first of all, the Harden Volume 7 and the AE1 had amazing court feel, right? But if you want a little bit more impact protection, a little bit more cushion, the Harden Volume 8 is obviously going to have you covered. And it's a little bit thicker of a slab, I guess, because it does feel a little bit higher up off the ground. So I do like that, right? And also the Harden Volume 8 comparing to the Harden Volume 7 and the AE1 has a little bit more compression from the actual midsole, which does feel nice. So yeah, court feel still really nice. Step-in comfort is absolutely amazing, and I'm liking the cushioning setup so far. Like your heel and also your forefoot just kind of sink into the Boost, which feels great. So I feel like the cushioning setup just is going to be really nice, just like in the Harden Volume 7 and also in the AE1, right? And now moving on to the upper. So here in the toe box, we have this leather material. It's kind of like a shroud. It reminds me of course, the Harden Volume 7 and also the Harden Volume 1. You guys remember that shoe? But the leather material doesn't feel super quality, right? For 160 bucks, at least this part, it should be a little nice. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's also kind of flimsy, right? And just, it's kind of loose on the toe box as well. It's not super tight. Look at that. Look at how much it comes up, you know what I mean? So that's not super nice, but underneath that, actually pretty much throughout the entire upper, it's this kind of stretchy one booty upper, right? And it's this knit, and it does stretch over your foot like a sock, just like in the Harden Volume 7. So this inner booty is pretty much the exact same. It's pretty much a copy from the Harden Volume 7. Also this part, right? This part and also the booty is very, very similar, right? This part and also the booty. It's pretty much the exact same, right? Feels like a sock. It stretches over your foot, which is really, really nice. Also, the laces are pretty much the exact same as well. So not not that much changed, honestly. You know what I mean? The only thing that's changed, of course, is this thing. So here in the Harden Volume 8, obviously we have this crazy foam. So it's actually not as thick as I thought. As you guys can see, it's not super thick right here, but it's still kind of hefty. You know, it does add a little bit of, or a good amount of bulk to the actual upper, which we'll get into. And then also here in the ankle area, there's not a crazy amount of padding either. You know what I mean? And then here in the heel, we have this kind of like pretty robust plastic piece and also all this freaking foam, and which does feel pretty bulky as well. So yeah, I mean, the upper quality definitely could be better. You know what I mean? Like, with this foam doesn't feel super quality. I don't know why, it just feels kind of cheap to me. And also with this leather. So for 160 bucks, I definitely feel like the Harden Volume 7 feels a little bit better. But as far as like how it feels okay, so it feels really bulky, right? But it feels really cozy as well. And also supportive, you know what I mean? So that's what the Harden line has been. You know what I mean? Very, very supportive, pretty robust, but yet still pretty dang comfortable. Obviously, if you're looking for a minimal upper, if you're looking for a thin material, this isn't the best option. But the good thing is it feels cozy. So there's the upper there. Moving on to the fit. So I went up half a size and it fits me actually pretty dang well. It fits extremely similar, obviously, to the Harden Volume 7, right? So I went up half a size for some of my other colorways, right? So from the all black one, I went up half a size. For this kind of like mint one, I went true to size, and this shoe is actually really snug, right? My toes go very close to the edge of the shoe, and also as you guys can see, it's pretty pointy, so it is a little narrow as well. It's kind of squishing my pinky toe. So here in the Harden Volume 8, I went up half a size, like I said, and it actually fits me pretty dang well. I don't really notice the extra length. There is a little bit of extra length, but it's not that much, right? So I feel like if you went true to size, it might even be a little too snug, so just be careful with that. Like if you want a really snug fit, then probably go true to size. But like I said, for me, even though I do like a very snug fit in my hoop shoes, going up half a size for the Harden Volume 8 is not that bad right now. We'll have to see how the shoe breaks in, how the upper breaks in and stuff like that, and if it gets roomier, but right now for my first impressions, it feels pretty nice for me going up half a size, right? So for most people, I would recommend going up half a size to be on the safe side, and if you have a wide foot, probably go up a full size, right? But for me, it does feel good, and also right here, it fits pretty similarly to the Harden Volume 7, like it is a little narrow right here at the tip of the toe, squishing my pinky toe a little bit, but it feels a little bit wider than the Harden Volume 7, right? And also this shoe is really easy to put on. You know, just stretch this one booty upper out, slide your foot in, and you're good to go. And I do like how this kind of feels like a sock. You know, it just feels really nice over my foot. So there's the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown, I mean, it feels like it's going to be amazing. So for lateral containment, I mean, look at the lateral counters. You can't really get much better than this, I guess, in today's day and age, you know? So, yeah, you're pretty much covered. For forefoot, midfoot, and also here in the heel, look at this, right? So your foot is not coming out of the footbed. It's just not possible, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not. Because of this foam coming up, also acting as a sidewall and kind of acting as a midsole as well. So yeah, you should be good to go. Also, obviously, they have a hole here to probably cut down on the weight, which we'll get into in a little bit. So yeah, lateral containment should be fine, and also lateral stability. Adidas usually does it really well, giving us a very low to the ground base right here in the forefoot, and also a very wide base, so it feels laterally stable as well. So support and lockdown feels really good, and obviously the Harden Volume 7 had really good lockdown too, so I'm not really too worried about that, you know. And now moving on to the weight of the shoe, which is something that I'm very curious about, right? So I mean, I feel like the Harden Volume 7, I don't know, this shoe still feels pretty heavy. So I'm guessing like 15 ounces. Yeah, so 15.3 ounces. Let's check the Harden Volume 7. Yeah, 15.35 ounces. So yeah, I mean, very heavy. Hardens have been heavy. They usually prioritize support and responsiveness and court feel. You know what I mean? So being lightweight is something that Hardens haven't really been. Also, a lot of Adidas shoes aren't lightweight. You know what I mean? Which sucks because yeah, this shoe does feel pretty dang bulky. You know, just like the Harden Volume 7 because of all of this going on with this puffy jacking material here in the midfoot with all this caging as well. It wasn't super bulky and terrible, but it does feel a lot bulkier than a lot of other shoes, like for example like the Curry 11. You know what I mean? So yeah, same thing, Harden Volume 8 with all this foam here, especially here in the heel, it does feel pretty dang bulky, which does suck. But For me, in the Harden Volume 7, I didn't mind the bulk because it was such a responsive shoe, right? The traction was so good. The cushion was very comfortable with great step-in comfort and court feel and great support in lockdown. I didn't mind the weight, you know? I felt extremely quick playing in the Harden Volume 7, and I feel like that's going to be the case for the Harden Volume 8. And now moving on to the aesthetics, I don't know, guys. It looks weird to me. It looks very unique, I guess, if I want to be nice. It just looks weird to me right now, you know? Hopefully it does grow on me a little bit, but I definitely feel like the Harden Volume 7 looks better right now. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics of the Harden Volume 8 down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yes, it's feeling like the Harden Volume 7. And that's not a bad thing, you know what I mean? The weight is pretty much identical. The cushion is extremely similar, even though the Harden Volume 8 feels a little bit higher up off the ground. It still has really great cushion. Traction still feels like it'll be very good. Support, it feels like it'll be very supportive, you know? It fits me extremely well. I love the inner booty, which is pretty much identical to the Harden Volume 7. So yeah, it feels like the Harden Volume 7, which is not a bad thing. You know what I mean? We'll have to see on the overall cushion because like I said, it does feel like it is a little bit thicker than the Harden Volume 7. So we'll have to see on how it actually performs and all that. But right now, for my first impressions, it's feeling very similar to the 7, which of course is a good thing. So anyways, that about wraps up this video. Again, if you guys do want to cop a, try to leave the link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.